Okay, let's go to the Solution Explorer. In the Solution Explorer, you can see the author CS file. This acts as a data class for our example. If you see, it defines three properties that matches the database name. These are all the internal fields, and these three are the properties. This property matches the database field name that we are going to retrieve. This is our author data set. Author.cs, we define the author class that acts as a data set, data class. Author data set acts as a business layer which operates on the author class, and at the same time it defines the method for insertion, deletion, updating, all those stuff. The mandatory stuff that should be defined in author dataset is a function that returns a dataset. It need not to be a dataset, it can be a array, list, whatever it is. It should represent a set of rows. So here I wrote a function called list of authors, which returns a data table. I explained about this function in the article well. You can go ahead and read the article for how this function is working. Let's go ahead to the example.aspx page, and here I will drag the object data source. The object data source is available under the data. So the controls are separated on a separate division. So all the data related controls are available under the data division. Drag the object data source and drop it to the example.aspx page. So we can configure this data source based on the properties that is listed in the top right corner arrow box, or you can set the property using the property window also. Here I will configure the data source. So it opens a wizard like page. The first page shows choose a business object. Here if I go and select the option button, it lists two classes. We know that author is a data class, which is the field representation of our data table. The author data set is actually the business object. At present we defined only the function that is capable of doing a select operation. A method that returns a data table, which queries the database and retrieves a collection of data. So I am linking this author dataset as the business object. So now our business object knows which object instance, or which class instance it should create when it tries to retrieve the data from the database. I'm clicking next now. So the next heading says define data methods. At present we have defined data method only for the select statement. So I will pick a method for the select statement. If you read it here, it describes choose a method of business object that returns data to associate with the select operation. This method can return a data set, data reader, or a strongly typed collection. That means it can be a list or array, whatever that comes under the strongly typed collection. They have not listed data table. In our function we are returning data table that will also suitable enough for the select operation. As we have only one method, it lists that here. List of author is the method and it knows it returns a data table. So pick that method. As we don't have update, insert and delete statement, I am just picking the list of authors now. Maybe we will write a update statement later. I'm clicking finish. Now our object data source is ready here. This object data source is now knows from where to retrieve the data. Okay, now the object data source retrieves the data using the method that returns a data table, and it has a collection of data. So where should we display that data? We can display it in any control that can bind to this data source. For now I will pick the Gridview control and I will place it here. So I am choosing the auto format. I am choosing the simple format here. This is the important step, choose data source. Here I am choosing the object data source one. So this object data source, if you remember, it will contact our author dataset class for retrieving the select statement, which is defined under a method that returns a data table. Here I will choose enable paging. Suppose if a data grid displays 15 rows in the first page, and if the table contains 30 rows, then we need 2 pages. So the enable paging defines that. So I will click enable paging. Now you see the numbering here. Using this numbering you can browse to the pages of the records. You can set the properties here also for the grid view control. selected a different font for this data grid control. You save all the project. Go to the solution and let us build it. Build is succeeded. Now let's run the project. It's asking to enable the web.config file. Let's enable this. Before that we need a connection string. In the web.config define the connection string as shown here. This connection string also explained in the article very well. Now we will run the project. All we want to see is the example.aspx. I will click that. If you see, the data is retrieved and displayed in a grid view. You can also page through the content of the page.